I need you to knock some sense into me. I'm sure you can.
Yeah, I don't know.
I enjoy listening to you. I don't always agree with everything.
All right, enough of this persiflage.
So, you want my question?
I'm certainly not going to get myself in trouble by telling you what to do.
That makes great sense. Gosh, that's good.
Did I overwhelm you with words and wisdom?
I've got 7 kids. I feel like I could call you every day.
What? Wait, you're telling me I'm wrong? Disconnect.
Yes, I am, Dr. Ray.
You just need to tune in to Dr. Ray, honey. He's got all the answers.
Am I right or am I right?
Probably.
Now, from the studios of Living Bread Radio Network in Canton, Ohio, the hometown of Mother Angelica, here's Dr. Ray.
Hurt my finger there for just a moment there before I got on the air here. I was tacking up my certificate of my graduation with the with the award from the Catholic Media School of articulation and stuff. Good to have you, Dr. Ray Guarendi. Appreciate it so very much. Your company. What else we got here? See, I did it. I hate Listen to a lot of people. That is the new one. That is the new filler. Non-word. I think people really have trouble with pauses in communication. They have to fill in the silence with something. You know is bad. Oh, sometimes I count the number of you-knows in somebody's speech or answer to a question, and I fall prey to that myself. I'm not innocent with all that. It just happens. It's kind of like an osmotic sort of thing that takes over your speech. The number to get onto the program, I've got some folks calling in, and that's very nice. Thank you so very much. 877-573-7825. 877-57 equal is the number to call to get onto the program. I haven't calculated what percentage of folks who call in at the top of the program don't hang on. I do believe there is a sense of some that if they get on first, they'll stay. But if someone is taken before them, I got to do a calculation on what the probability is that they'll still be here. Nevertheless, I do not take it personally. I'm just glad that you even thought to call the first time around. So the number, 877-573-7825, 877-57 equal. Let me put my phone on stun, on silence, which, by the way, is the absolute worst people to be on the original Star Trek. It's the guys that wore the red tops. They were security. They were always getting rubbed out. Always. The bad guys always got them. Kirk and Bones, they all survived. But the security people, I don't know. They need to get better security people because they always went down. All right, where are we at here? Let me check one thing. Here it is. Several revisions, family events, downloading. I want to say this here. Got to congratulate WGIC 94.9 FM, serving Clarksville, Tennessee. You guys got ice down there? Celebrating 9 years on the network this week. Father Jacob Dio, David Smith, and the whole team there at Immaculate Conception Parish in Clarksville, Tennessee. Very, very nice. Congratulations from all of us here at EWTN. All right. I ask patience of you as I ramble through my monologue. When I was in the evangelical world, I was in my 30s. I spent about 8 years in the evangelical world. A few of those were in a mainline Protestant denomination, but then went into a non-denominational evangelical. One of the reasons that I came back to the church was logic. There were things that I ran across where I was that represented, I think, major thinking in the non-Catholic Christian world. I struggled. Here's one, and I thought about this relatively recently. See what you think. Where I was, one of the ideas was eternal security. Very, very prominent among non-denominational, evangelical, fundamentalist, Baptist churches. That is, if you confess Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior, ask Him into your heart, believe on Him, you will be saved. And you cannot lose your salvation. No matter what you do, you cannot lose your salvation. Now, I know that sounds funny to folks with a Catholic perspective, knowing that you can turn, commit grave sin, not be repentant, and in essence, turn your back, reject the faith. But where I was, you wouldn't do that if you were, quote unquote, honestly saved. That was the catch. That's another piece of illogic that I've gotten into more often on this program before. But this particular one, see what you think. The teaching was eternal security, and that was a very core teaching, very, very core teaching of where I was. And in fact, you almost had to believe that if you were going to embrace the creeds of that particular evangelical perspective, which was shared by a lot of evangelicals, a lot of non-denominationals, a lot of fundamentalists, a lot of Baptists. Eternal security, that's big. That's right at the heart. That you might know you'll be saved, as St. John said. Fair enough. Then there was another notion, rather prominent, which is Catholics are not Christian. I remember the first time I heard that from a pastor of a non-denominational. I was stunned. I thought, what? What? I've never been told I'm not a Christian. And indeed, I heard a very, very high-profile Protestant preacher tell a massive gathering the Catholic Church is the biggest cult in Christianity, and the gathering just roared their approval. So it's not unusual among particular denominations or particular independent churches to hear that the Catholic Church is not Christian. Even though it believes that Jesus Christ is Lord and Savior, there were too many things the church added in their perspective, their consideration, that negated being a truly Christian church. They've complicated the supposedly simple Bible message. So there you have it. 1, eternal security, and 2, the Catholic Church is not a Christian church. And if you're in the Catholic Church, at the very least, you are misguided. At the very worst, your salvation is in jeopardy. When I left that evangelical denomination and got back to the Catholic Church, it occurred to me. I was told that I was eternally secure in God's grace. I had accepted Jesus Christ. As a matter of fact, if I had understood more about my religion, I would have recognized that I became a Christian when I was baptized. And I did believe that, but in that environment, I did accept Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior, and everybody was happy I was a Christian. When I returned to the Catholic Church, was I still saved? If the Catholic Church is not a Christian church, so in essence, you're leaving Christianity, did I lose my eternal salvation? You can't have both. Either I didn't have eternal salvation, which I was told I did, and I was convinced I did, and I said and did genuinely what should have led to eternal salvation, but when I re-entered my Catholic faith, I left Christianity, at least according to many who believe that eternal salvation is also true. That confused me. On one hand, I could have had an adulterous relationship in my marriage And that would not make me lose my salvation. But if I joined the Catholic Church, I would. Now, the answer to that is the cliche that, well, Ray, you must not have been saved to begin with because you wouldn't have left for the Catholic Church if you were indeed genuinely saved. Now, that's another logic problem. Because if I was wrong, if I was mistaken about being saved, and the only way I found out I was mistaken was by joining the Catholic Church and leaving Christianity, then I can't have eternal salvation because I was wrong. So that confused me a lot, but that was just one of the things I wrestled with as I came back to the Catholic Church. And I brought this up to some of my former co-religionists, and they fell back on the, well, you Ray, I think you're saved, but anybody who thinks you weren't would have to say you weren't saved to begin with because you couldn't have joined the Catholic Church, which is a cult and a false Christianity. You see why I got confused? 877-573-7825, 877-57-EQUAL. That is the number to call to get onto the program. And there's a lot of folks up there, and I want to just do my very best to talk with you. I'm Dr. Ray.
Every woman deserves specialized health care. At Arbor Women Health, our team of compassionate professionals listen to our patients and want to understand what they're going through. They serve everyone from teen girls to seniors. Our faith-based clinicians specialize in obstetrics, gynecology, fertility awareness and crisis, or unexpected pregnancies. Call 734-930-4020 or visit arborwomenhealth.org. Arbor Woman, faith-inspired, dignity-affirming healthcare.
The Heart of the Interior Life with Elizabeth Jingle.
In the fourth rule of the 14 rules for the discernment of spirits, St. Ignatius of Loyola describes spiritual desolation. Detailing an aspect of spiritual desolation, he writes, "and as if separated from one's Creator and Lord." Father Timothy Gallagher explains this aspect. Ignatius is highlighting a fundamental characteristic of spiritual desolation. While it endures, any felt consciousness of God's loving presence is weakened or absent, and such persons feel as if they were separated from God. God is with us, despite the lack of feeling that He is with us. God is with us when we feel isolated, alone, and as if no one cares. Instead of continuing to allow the spiritual desolation to isolate us, the invitation is to open our hearts to communion with God's heart. What will be your prayer of communion with God today?
For more information, visit AveMariaRadio.net. Do you own popular index mutual funds or ETFs? If so, you're automatically own shares of companies that conflict with your moral beliefs. Ave Maria mutual funds are managed to conform to pro-life and pro-family values. Long-term investors can invest in the no-load Ave Maria mutual funds. The experienced professional portfolio managers make decisions based on investment fundamentals and pro-life values. You can learn more about Ave Maria mutual funds today at 866-AVE-MARIA or visit AveMariaFunds.com.
Oh, where'd you find that, Andrew? Guy's good. Oh, Tom Price, if you're listening. Alrighty, let's get to the folks very quickly. I can do a couple of calls that would be rather short, and then I will get to the more life-oriented situations. Tom from Flint, Michigan is looking for a couple of books I mentioned a week or so ago. What was that in relation to, Tom?
Yeah, thanks, Dr. Ray, for the call. And your call screener is very kind just now. Other folks may care to hear you repeat this real quick. I was driving about 10 days ago when you mentioned two books that you highly recommend. and their authors, and I couldn't jot it down while I was behind the wheel. One of them was something like the Handbook of Apologetics, and the other one you said was something along the lines of the Case for Christianity, and I don't know how close I am on those two.
You were close. You reminded me of both. Okay. My favorite, Using Reason, Logic, and Evidence by Peter Kraft and a priest named Ron Taselli, it's called Handbook of Catholic Apologetics. Now, don't let that fool you. It's not academic. It's a very easy to read, and it goes through a lot of the questions that people have. Can you trust the Bible? Did Christ really rise from the dead? How do we know he was who he said he was? Are miracles possible? And they use reason, logic, and evidence. It's called Handbook of Catholic Apologetics. The other one is by an evangelical, a guy named Lee Strobel, Stroebel or Ble. Strobel was an atheist journalist who set out to disprove Christianity. And he became a very, very staunch Christian. And his is called The Case for Christ. It was a small book in the beginning. I read the small one, but he upgraded it, and it's much more detailed. In essence, he interviews a whole lot of people, biblical scholars, folks that are high profile in the Christian world, and asks them all kinds of things about how do you know? Why do you believe this? So that's another one. So both of those, I think, are heavy into thoughtfulness, apologetics, reason, evidence. There you go, Tom.
Perfect. Thanks, Doc.
All right, my friend. Thank you. Okay, took care of that. One quick one now from Bill. There's a comment here. He thinks people say because they don't want to pause, because someone else will jump in the conversation. Hi, Bill.
How you doing today?
Okay, sir.
Well, that was my only comment. I think that so many people don't listen and wait till you finish, or at least there's enough pause for them to jump in without them seeming to interrupt. So I think that's why a lot of people say or some other kind of noise to kind of claim the airspace.
How would you...
That's just my personal theory.
Okay, how would you apply that to all the folks on TV, especially the professionals, the pundits, the journalists, the hosts, who are giving you some kind of monologue or some kind of answer to a question, and it is replete with ums?
I agree with you there. However, if you notice the level of competition between even two anchors, they'll jump in. They'll read the other person's line off the teleprompter.
Okay. All right. Got it. So you think that the main motive... The main motive is that they want to keep control of the conversation. They don't want to... look at... Did you see what I just did? I went, They don't want to... They don't
you didn't want me to jump in.
That's right. I want to... It's my show. They are not sure what their next thought is going to be, so they're thinking of their next thought while they say or you know, or I mean, or well.
Well, the I believe is a very different thing. I have seen it often of people who aren't 100% sure. So it's like this, or and the gets a person to agree with you, so you kind of keep rolling forward. But it's sort of like you hear that, and I find that that's a person who really isn't confident in what they're saying. If they're confident, they just say it.
Or they're searching for words. I see that a lot. Somebody is trying to make a point, and the word doesn't come to them right away quick that they want.
Well,
so
that's
they'll
more
say,
my generation.
Yeah, the like is our generation, right? Well, I'm your generation, so I shouldn't say that.
No. Being so old that you can't remember what word it is, and you can see it, but it doesn't come out of your mouth just yet.
You know what that's called? That's called lethologica, when you can't pull up the word or the name of the person. And that's starting to scare me because that's happening to me a lot, and the radio is not a good place to be when that's happening. Well, thank you, Bill. I appreciate the call.
In.
Appreciate the call, sir. All right, let's get to these folks waiting patiently. John from Portland, Oregon. He called a couple years ago. Yes, I remember it, John. It was March 12th. It was, I think, 1:26 p.m. It was a Tuesday. I had a Coke and a small snack in front of me. Okay. Yes, sir. Give me the update.
Well, the update, sir, is as a former Navy corpsman, served Desert Shield, Storm, and, worked that field and then left it for other things. I'm different than most people who have to come upon brain surgery without that experience. But I hiked that trail, and after I recovered, God put a woman in my life who didn't know any of my history, and she ends up being a provider in my town and actually goes to my parish, and now we're engaged. Isn't God a miraculous God? So I wanted to share that with you.
So that's an update that doesn't have necessarily anything to do with your actual surgery.
Surgery went great. I was recovering fine. I was expecting just to live a simple life.
And then this woman walked
And then
in.
God, yes, and her being a provider in town doesn't scare her.
In the words
Statement
of the
that
famous...
She said to me, yeah, go ahead.
In the words of the famous movie, of all the gin joints in town, she walks into mine.
There you go.
I think that was Casablanca.
You deserve to hear it. Yeah, you were there for me, and anyone that has to have any brain surgery, and it was the removal of the hippocampus and the
how do you? Well, first of all, how do you? They're removing your hippocampus. How do you foment memories? How do you put them into long term?
Well, and that's where the therapy that went on. But I just, the technology is out there. But I will just encourage any one of your people or the patients you've seen is I guess just keep, as we say on the trail, hike your own hike and just keep moving.
Well, they got rid of your amygdala too, and that is the anxiety fear center orchestrator in the brain. So you're telling me you're just cool and calm and collected all the time?
Well, that injury was from 30 years ago on the left side, and then as I got older, and then came back into a situation that made it medically resistant, as they called it. And so when I was older, and, I'm glad I lived that long without needing to, have another surgery. But I'll just say I want to comfort anyone, especially parents, that their child has a TBI or anything like this, is just know it takes time, and get them on the piano, get them out walking, don't take everything personal, and, just keep moving, and God will bring miracles.
Your call is providential. Today, before I came to the program, my wife was on the phone with our son, Sam, who lives in Houston, 10 years formerly in the service. And Sam informed her that he would be having a consult with a neurosurgeon because he had a condition, congenital, I'm blanking on it. But in essence, what happens is the cerebellum slips down on top of the spinal cord. And so you're familiar with it?
Yeah, I remember those.
I forget the name, Gialia or something like that. I forget it. But
yeah.
So Sammy, they were trying to take care of it with therapy, but it looks like he's going to have to go under the knife. So thank you for your call, John. You helped me more than I helped you.
Well, the trail provides, as we say. So take care, Doc.
And you met the girl on the trail. This is Dr. Ray, 877-57-EQUAL. A couple folks waiting very patiently. I know you're there. I see you there. So you are coming up, and I would welcome some more calls. Thank you. Giving you a little bit of a remedial psychological education. I've always been fascinated by brain anatomy. I read somewhere where they said the brain is the most complex thing we know of in the universe. Now, that may not mean it is the most complex thing, but it is by far the most complex thing we know of. Christina has been waiting so very patiently from Oregon because her little 7-year-old daughter is a major fretter. Hi, Christina.
Hi, Dr. Ray.
So what's she doing about these germs here?
Oh, my goodness, the germs are everywhere. So we thought, because we were preparing her to receive the Sacrament of Reconciliation, we thought maybe this was just kind of triggering some things. She's always kind of run a little bit anxious. I myself have run a little bit anxious, maybe a lot anxious. I'm pretty type A and kind of run our house that way. So we thought, it first started out with she was worried that she was lying. If, she, said that our baby was cute, but she didn't think she was the cutest baby in the world. So she didn't know how to give an answer that was the truth. And so she doesn't want to give absolute answers. And now we're just worried that she's not enjoying her childhood because so many things are a worry, and we don't know what to do with it.
Well, I think you put it well when you said we're worried about her not enjoying her childhood, because that can do it. That can very much do it. When she says something like, well, okay, I meant she was cute, but I didn't mean that she was the cutest of all babies. I didn't want to say that she was the cutest of all babies. And she's correcting herself, and she's qualifying, and she's over-talking. What do you do?
Then we say, even if you think she's a little bit of a cute baby, then that's the truth. You were just saying she's a cute baby. But she just feels like she can't say at all. She'll just say, sure. So we try and say, even if it's a little bit, not 100%, then you can still give an answer of yes when it's things like that.
Christina, I might go simpler.
But that doesn't satisfy her.
No, that's what I say. I might go simpler because the more you try to reason it out, the more she finds reason to come back. I would say, that's not a lie, honey. And that's it.
Yeah, maybe we're talking too much at her.
You're making this become a very protracted kind of let me settle you down sort of thing. And in a lot of ways, that can make it worse because then she just focuses more attention on it. Just look at her and say, honey, that's not a lie. And then end the conversation. But Mom, I think it is a lie. I think it is a lie. I think it's a lie. And then you just look at her. Don't repeat. I said that's not a lie. Just look at her. Now, what's this about the germs thing here? She washing her hands constantly? Is she not touching anything?
So the last couple of weeks have been just constantly washing her hands, where they're getting,
Don't let her. Don't let her.
Irritated.
Don't let her.
Yeah. So what do we do about that? Just say she can only do it when she goes to the restroom. Like, what do we do?
That's it.
Okay.
Here's what's happening. She gets anxious about germs. In her little mind, they're everywhere. And you can't see them. That makes them really scary because you don't even know they're there, but they're there, but I can't see them, but I can't do anything about it. I would say, honey, the only way you're going to find out that you don't have to be afraid of germs every day is to not wash your hands. That's it. Now, here's what's going to happen. She's going to sneak and wash her hands. And I think at that point, I might even say, honey, if you go behind my back and wash your hands, I'm going to do something about it. You may have to sit on the steps. Because someone might say, but Dr. Ray, if she's that anxious, we got to get to the root of her anxiety. She's 7 years old. She's got a temperament that is probably reactive. As a result, in her little mind, she can concoct fears. Her latest one is germs. Tomorrow she may have a different one. Latest one is germs. What she needs to experience is that there is no threat by not washing her hands.
Okay.
In her mind, the germs threaten me if I don't wash my hands because I'll get sick. I could die.
Mm-hmm.
She needs to find out that worry has no foundation in reality. Now, somebody could say, yeah, well, wait a minute, Dr. Ray. Yes, it does. You need to wash your hands for good hygiene. Yes, but not what she's doing.
Right.
Not what she's doing. Yes, absolutely, and it's irrational. And so...
Okay, and then... Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, honey. Go ahead.
No, is there something like... I mean, I'm her mom, and I homeschool her, so I'm with her all the time. And I like things to be a certain way, and I know that I probably have been like, okay, shoes on the counter will, leave germs, or, tell me what I need to do to like.
Yeah, you need to play down any kind of over hygiene type stuff.
Okay.
If you want to get the shoes off the counter, honey, I don't want mud on them. I don't want mud on the counter, not germs.
Mm-hmm.
Did you go to the bathroom? Did you wash your hands? Kind of thing. By the way, a little side note. People most often wash their hands if they're in the bathroom, a public bathroom, and somebody else is in there. If somebody else is not in there, half the time they don't wash their hands. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I won't worry about that.
See, interestingly enough, in any kind of anxiety, you need to break the connection between your physiological reaction, which in her case, she gets nervous and anxious and upset, and the magical things that she is doing to make sure that doesn't happen. So I'm magically washing my hands 22 times a day to keep the germs away. In fact, it's not really doing that because the instant she touches something else, she's picked up germs.
Yeah. Right.
So we tell her, honey, God gave you a beautiful body, and your body is designed so that germs are taken care of by your body, and that's the way it is.
Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm.
And I'd keep it that simple, and I'd say, we're going to teach you, we're going to help you, because I want you to be a 7-year-old little girl who loves life, and all of this stuff is just interfering with your happiness, and I'm not going to let that happen.
Oh, I love that. Okay, we can do that.
Call me, let me know, would you?
I will. Thank you, Dr. Ray.
All right, thanks for being so patient, Christina.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh, boy. Calls coming in, and I'm going to do them all. And, of course, my dear friend, Father Deacon Lawrence, is there. Father Deacon, there's just an awful lot of anti-Catholics out there. And some of them are anti-Catholics because they're ignorant about the faith, and some of them are anti-Catholics because they just have been told all these years. They know two things. Jesus is Lord, and the Catholic Church is wrong, or worse, evil. Music Maestro. Thank you for joining me. I'm going to get to it quick. No badinage right here. Lots some heavy calls up there. Let's go to Elizabeth, waiting patiently from St. Petersburg, Florida, where it's warm and wonderful, not like here where it's 3 degrees and a foot plus snow on the ground. Hi, Elizabeth.
Hi, don't make me laugh. It's 30 degrees out there for Florida.
Oh!
Yeah, we're cold.
Well,
cold.
I don't want to make you laugh because you'll argue with me.
Yeah, okay. All right. Here's the story. I've had MS exactly half my life. When I was 29, I just turned 60. I'm a paraplegic in a wheelchair. I'm dealing with the caretakers each morning and each night. Yesterday, I was politely accused of being a grandmother, being argumentative, not a grandmother. Accused of being argumentative.
Did you say, tell me how I am? Did you say, tell me how I am?
No, I didn't. I didn't say anything because I was shocked.
You said, no, I'm not. They said, yes, you are. You said, no, I'm not.
I didn't do that because that would be arguing. So when I express, no, don't do it this way, do it that way, I'm setting myself up for success because I know how things are going wrong, and it makes more work for me. When they do things wrong, not clean, upside down, backwards, I'm looking out my window at the garbage can. She took out the wrong garbage can. There's a full garbage can in the garage, and she took out the empty garbage can. Don't ask. I have to keep it to myself. When I'm feeling like talking bad about them, I do by myself when they're not here. Instead, I have a good word for them. When they show up in the mornings, I say, good morning. I say, anything good happened to you lately? And they take care of me. But it's always something, I have to think of something good to say, because I have to take care of their emotional needs. If I'm grumpy, they're going to be grumpy. So it's a lot of responsibility on me to watch out for their emotional needs. And on top of that, I can't make myself clear. And my brain will just stop, and I'll be pointing. I'll say, that needs to be shifted a little bit to the left. And I'm pointing, and my brain locks up. And
they don't like you bossing them around.
No, they don't. And I'm trying so hard. I think I'm being nice. Apparently, I'm failing. So,
all right, let's take a general overview here. You have no guarantee that the people who are going to take care of you are going to respect your wishes. Their attitude may be, we know what we're doing. Don't tell us how to do our job. If that's their attitude, you got a problem. So that's one. However, that doesn't mean that you can't come across, in their mind, less argumentative. For example, if they're doing something and you're thinking to yourself, no, that you don't do it that way. You do it this way because. You could say, why have you decided to do it that way? Mm-hmm. Would you want to do it this way? In other words, I'm going to give you the option by suggesting the option. If they go to the wrong trash can, rather than saying, that's not the trash can. The one that I want you to take is out in the garage. Oh, they don't like that. That's commanding talk. What if you said, I have a full trash can in the garage? In other words, you're not telling them what to do, but you are bringing up choices, to use the word that the shrinks like to use, for that. If they think you're bossy, or if they think you correct them too much, or if they're sensitive, you may get a worker who gladly appreciates that you say, oh, okay, thanks. I didn't know that. I got the wrong garbage can. Thanks for telling me. And then you may get one thinking, I'm not stupid, okay? You don't need to tell me where it is. It's hard to read it. But if you don't command and you offer, it might help. Either that, my dear, or just let them think you're argumentative. What are you going to do? Okay, so you're argumentative. Now, I want to know, I've talked to you for 5 minutes. You have not argued with me once the whole time. And I think that's because you knew it would be futile to try to argue with me.
I do a what? What was that word? See, there I go, not understanding. I don't hear it.
Futile.
And
futile.
My brain
in vain.
Up. I can't hear things. I can't express things. And I have to repeat myself.
And it makes it tough to express it in such a way that they wouldn't view you as argumentative. That makes it tough. Well, God bless you. Just know that if you're being accused of being argumentative, it means one of two things. You're either coming across a little bossy, or you're not really all that argumentative, but the person that you're talking to is prickly and sensitive and just doesn't want to have any kind of guidance. One or the other. I don't know. I ain't there.
Yep. they think their way is the better way.
Yeah. What do you know? You're 60 years old. You're in a wheelchair. What do you know?
All right, I gotta go take care of that. No, I gotta text my neighbor and tell him about the trash barrels.
There you go. You solved
He's
it.
on my side. He's a caretaker.
See that? He's different. He understands. You can
Yes,
tell
he
him
is.
the better way to do it in your mind, and he's okay with that. So that tells you something.
Yes, he is. They'll put
And
the
if you-
barrels in the shed
okay.
in the back, and they'll won't
Do
see them.
one thing for me before you go.
What's that?
Tell me how to handle this radio show in your opinion, and I won't argue with you.
Speechless. You're doing great.
I'm not going to argue with that.
I can't argue.
Elizabeth, bless your heart. I'll talk to you.
All right, thank you.
All right, bye, honey. All right, got a couple folks I want to get to. When we come back from the break, I'll take the quick break and then try to do both. This is Dr. Ray.
At Glass Doctor, our trained specialists are experts at fixing foggy and cracked glass, leaving any residential window looking like new without replacing the entire window. Bring back the view of any window with Glass Doctor. Visit glassdoctor.com to request a free estimate on repairing your foggy or cracked windows. Let Glass Doctor bring back your view.
Call the Glass Doctor, we'll fix your paint. Oh, yeah.
I saw a meme on social media that I sat with for a while. It read, "Imagine in heaven one day some person walks up to you and says, 'I am here because you weren't ashamed and told me about Jesus. Thank you.' Now imagine a very different encounter, and the one we read in the Gospel of Matthew. On that day, many will say to me, 'Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name, and cast out demons in your name, and do many mighty works in your name?' Then I will declare to them, 'I never knew you. Go away from me. You behave lawlessly.'" How are you communicating the faith by the way you live it? Our encounter with Jesus is personal, so we must connect with people personally. Not only do I yearn to hear the words one day, "Well done, my good and faithful servant," but now I think about who might I meet in heaven, God willing, that might thank me for sharing Jesus with them. This has been a Christ-Centered Communication message. I'm Vanessa Denhagarmo, Communications Evangelist and host of Epiphany.
Steve and Janet Ray here, inviting you to join us in Portugal, Spain, and France as we follow the three children of Fatima and St. Bernadette of Lourdes and encounter lots of surprises along the way. These moving apparition sites never fail to inspire awe, healing, and a love for Our Lady, exquisite countryside, and our Spanish chaplain, Father Alfonso Aguilar.
To learn more about your Ave Maria Radio trip, find the Ave Maria Radio Travel tab at AveMariaRadio.net.
Let's go to Catherine, South Carolina. Hi, Catherine.
Hi, Dr. Ray.
What's going on with your brain?
I called earlier. Sorry, what's on my brain? Did you say what's wrong with it?
What's going on with it?
I have. Well, about 17 years ago, I had a brain tumor, and that's not back. But I have. Some people call it idiopathic intracranial hypertension. Some people say it's hydrocephalus, but I have a lot of problems with the vessels on the left side, the jugular vein, the transverse sinus, and my cerebellum, and the blood's not going out, and I have too much spinal fluid buildup.
They're going to shunt you.
And I have a lot of problems with pressure. It acts like I have a brain tumor, but I don't.
They're going to shunt you.
And so they want to put a shunt in my brain.
Yeah. That's not. I would think they would tell you that's fairly routine. I mean, obviously, anything involving the brain, but a shunt would be reasonably routine. Did they tell you that?
For me, it's been the last thing from routine. My internist has been like, I don't understand why it's such a problem. I've had several. My first admission with it, they had a medical error. They thought I had a deep vein thrombosis and I was on a heparin drip, so they couldn't do the lumbar puncture. So they never did the lumbar puncture without the medicine, so they don't know how high the pressure was. And then having had a brain tumor in the past, whereas other people have this, haven't usually had a brain tumor, they don't want to do that. And then they've always been like, well, we'll just do medicine. We're not going to do a shunt. So I keep losing my job because I keep getting too sick. You know, I fall out at work, I lose my vision and my hearing, and I fall out and I get taken to the hospital, or I have too many doctor's appointments and they say, well, we can't have somebody with this many absences. We need you to leave. Or I get called out for a CAT scan in the middle of the day and then they fire me that day. So I keep losing my job, or I have to quit or something. And so I can't really work because I'm basically handicapped, and then nobody wanted to put a shunt in for 2 years. So I've got all these financial problems because I can barely work, and I might have to foreclose on my house. I have so much medical debt.
Yikes!
It's horrible. And then the doctors are all afraid because like one surgeon I went to, he accidentally did the wrong surgery on someone. He had a wrongful death, and so he was going to do surgery on me, and then he stopped doing surgeries. He just had to pay out $1 million. So that happened, and then one surgeon, he went out of the country for 2 or 3 weeks, and I had a problem, and they wouldn't respond. And
let me give you what I can give you, Catherine, here in a brief radio call that would be infinitely far from doing justice to anything you're asking. Because of the financial situation and because of your severe inability to navigate normal life, you would be eligible for all kinds of support, including Social Security disability, SNAP, everything. You would probably be able to financially exist without a job, because these kinds of social nets are exactly for someone like you. So that's the first thing I would do. I would just start exploring all of them. You can get HEAP, you can get food stamps, you can use the local food bank. There's just so many things available for you that I would strongly suggest in the meantime. So you don't need to say, how am I going to make it? And you've probably already done a lot of that, but just wanting to reiterate that. Are you? See, I did. Unbelievable. Are you scared?
I'm not scared about dying or the surgery. I'm scared about what if I have the surgery and I still am living like this. That's what I'm scared about.
I would think you could get some reassurance by talking to a neurosurgeon who would answer your questions and give you some prognosis of what the surgery would do for you. Have you done that?
Yeah, he said he's not totally sure. He said there's a 5% chance I'd die on the table, a 1% chance that I'd have severe disability, 94% chance I'd be okay, but he doesn't know how much it'll help me or not, but he feels like it's worth a shot.
Well, it sounds like it's necessary.
Yeah, I feel like it is. I'm young. I'd like to work. I'd like to have a life. All I can really do is watch TV. Can't even really read because I have so many problems sometimes with my vision. And
is there any way you can move the surgery up?
They have been saying on and off for a long time, longer to do it, we're not going to do it, but I think it's finally going to be in February.
Good. Very good. Very good. And know that there's a 19 out of 20 chance that you will not be left incapacitated, and that, in fact, it will probably help. And you cling to that. And of course, you pray. I'm sure. Yeah. I'm not gonna sit here. Somebody's gonna email me and say, "Why didn't you tell Catherine to pray?" And I want to say, because she's been praying for years. Come on. She's not going to say, "Dr. Ray, I never thought of that. Thank you for telling me that." So,
yeah.
God bless you, dear. And this is something that anybody who has an intervention serious like yours is going to be antsy about it, more than antsy. I would say this, though. Here's one thing to kind of turn this around a little bit. What if you thanked God that surgery is available for you? Because in all of human history, up until relatively very recently, maybe even your lifetime, it would not be available. And you would essentially live this way until you died early.
That's
so
true.
be grateful for the surgery rather than being scared of it.
That's true.
Sometimes it just takes a change in perspective. God bless you, Catherine. I'm sure there'll be people praying for you. Father Deacon Lawrence, I didn't get to you. Please call me back. I think I was reading somewhere in Purgatory today that it said if you neglect a cleric, that adds double to your purgatory. I'll have to look that up. It was in the June issue of Purgatory today. So, Father Deacon, please call back. I know you will because you're a regular listener, and you're a lot smarter than you used to be. I noticed that since I talked to you last time. Thanks, Andrew Kruchek. Thanks, Eric DeMott. Thanks, you folks. Thanks, you folks. I'm articulate and stuff. Walk with God.
For information on Dr. Ray's presentations, books, and CDs, visit drray.com and follow him on Facebook and Instagram. The Doctor Is In is a co-production of Ave Maria Radio and EWTN Radio and carried across the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.